Everybody. Good to see you this morning. Good morning. Joining us today, as you can see, are some of the rising stars in our party. These are Republican members of the sophomore class. They're in their second term. Many of them have been working so hard for the last several weeks in their districts, trying to help their constituents navigate the chaoses that have been created by the Democrat shutdown. We're now on day 36, and it is a sad landmark in our history. This is the longest shutdown of any government in our history. And they've also made history in a number of ways, which we've recounted every day in our daily press conferences. Remember, this is the first time in the history of America that any party has had the audacity to close down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution. I said yesterday, and I'm being honest, none of us imagined that we would be here at this moment. We couldn't have imagined that Democrats would be willing to force families to go hungry and workers to miss paychecks for 5 weeks on end, 50 days plus, and we never did imagine that they would be willing to use the pain of American families with such reckless disregard. But that is what we are seeing, and it is unconscionable. Despite the 15 opportunities they have now had to reopen the government, they have voted 15 times to keep it closed. That is the number that everyone has to pay attention to. All the Americans who are hurting because of this. They need to understand Republicans have voted 15 times to open your government, and the Democrats have voted 15 times to close it. They voted to deny paychecks to workers, to stop the flow of SNAP funds to hungry families, and all the rest. And still, somehow, they have the audacity to go on national television and gaslight the American people and try to pretend that somehow the Republican Party has some blame in this. It's the most outrageous example of political gaslighting that we have ever seen. And day after day, they have claimed, without any merit at all, this shutdown is somehow about health care. It's a blatant lie, and they know it. They tried to string together two totally unrelated issues: the expiration of the Obamacare COVID subsidies and the basic funding of the federal government. Those are two totally distinct things. Republicans have always been willing to have a conversation about the COVID-era subsidies and how to make Obamacare and health care more affordable. But we will not, and we should not do so as hostages in their political game. It was in no way necessary or appropriate to shut down the government in order to have bipartisan discussions about the subsidies. The reality is the Democrats could have avoided all of this chaos and all the pain, everything they've inflicted on American families, by simply voting to back the clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution, the 24-page simple document, just as they did 13 times under the Biden administration. They could have passed that 47 days ago. After the House did it, we did our work and sent it over there. And we would have had all these negotiations and continued. I'm going to wrap this up and tell you again, why? The big question is why? Why would the Democrats have the audacity to do this? As we summarized so simply yesterday, and we will do so every day, they are motivated out of fear. The Democrats shut down the government out of fear. They have never been more afraid at any point than they are right now. They know, as we all do, what their own polls show. The leadership of the Democratic Party is the most unpopular with members of their own Democratic base. And we saw that in the elections last night. The old guard is desperately trying to use this shutdown to show the radical Marxist wing of their party that they can look tough to President Trump. That's because the new power center of the left isn't the moderates. It's the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders and the Mamdanis of the party. It's the activists who believe capitalism is evil, who disdain the founding principles of their own country. They claim that the salvation of our nation will be brought about by bigger government and more bureaucracy. Look what happened in New York City last night. For the first time in American history, an avowed, openly proclaimed socialist has been elected as the mayor of America's largest city. Zoran Mandami is without a doubt the biggest win for socialism in the history of the country, and it is the biggest loss for the American people. He is truly a committed Marxist. And the results of that race tell you everything you need to know about where the Democrats and their party are headed. from the backbench to their leadership. Democrats have fallen in line behind the socialist candidates. Hakeem Jeffries, as you know, is the highest-ranking Democrat in the House. He gave his full blessing to Mamdani and his socialist agenda. Chuck Schumer, the highest-ranking Democrat in the Senate and the highest-ranking Jewish leader in America, flirted with endorsing Mamdani all the way to the bitter end. Never mind the fact that Zoran has embraced anti-Semitic rhetoric and promised to arrest the Prime Minister of Israel if he visits New York City again. And then there's President Obama, who called Mamdani over the weekend to extend his praise and act as a sounding board for the young socialist. You can't make this stuff up. The man who made healthcare unaffordable with his own socialist scheme is advising the man whose false promises will surely make life unlivable for millions of New Yorkers who cannot afford to flee the city. As we said from this podium every morning, we talk about Mamdani for two reasons. It's a bellwether, because House Democrats, many of whom represent districts with much less blue than New York City, have embraced him with open arms. And because his brand of Marxism is truly a bellwether for the Democrats nationwide. We pointed out that other major metropolitan areas in the country are facing the same threat with candidates similar to Mamdani. And we're going to continue to call out their effort to mainstream and normalize socialism and Marxism in America. Working families watching this play out have a right to know that socialism and communism are not just confined in New York City. They are quickly coming to a town near you unless you stand up and let your voice of common sense be heard. While Democrats hitch their wagon to the socialist agenda, Republicans are going to continue to act in good faith on behalf of hardworking Americans. And we will remind a new generation of Americans about the painful and inescapable realities of history. We'll have much more to say about this in the days ahead. There were no surprises last night. I'll just summarize on the election, and then I'll yield to some of our sophomore stars here. There's no surprises. What happened last night was blue states and blue cities voted blue. We all saw that coming. And no one should read too much into last night's election results. Off-year elections are not indicative of what's to come. That's what history teaches us. By the way, it's worthy of note that Zoran Mamdani himself only received a little over 1 million votes, 1,036,000 votes. There are 8.3 million residents in New York City. 8.5 million actually is the number, I think. So about 12% of the city voted to turn their city over to the communists. We'll see how that works out. The lesson is that common sense Americans have to stay informed, you have to stay engaged, and you have to vote and let your voice be heard. But back to the urgent issue of this moment. Unlike our Democrat friends, Republicans know there's no prize for the milestone we've hit today. No one wins in a government shutdown. We pray that Democrats wake up to that truth very soon. We are very hopeful that they will come to their senses and help us to reopen the government. Remember, it's about math. We have to have 60 votes in the Senate, and we only have 53 Republicans. The entire country is waiting and calling on Democrats to put their political fight aside and open the government. Until they do that and do the right thing, House Republicans will continue to do what we've done since day one, and that is helping our constituents navigate the chaos and confusion of the Democrat shutdown back in our districts. And that includes the members of our outstanding sophomore class, many of whom represented here today. Some of them are here, and we want to thank them for their leadership and their resolve, and they're working in their districts and in D.C. and being all over the place. One of those leaders is Congressman Russell Fry, our sophomore class representative. He was the president of the freshman class, and so he still gets that distinction. He serves on our elected leadership committee. And I will tell you that Russell has been a strong voice for common sense, for conservative values, and we're truly grateful to have him with us today. Mr. President of the class, I'll turn over the podium to you.
For more news and updates, all you need to do is follow CNBC TV 18 on all of our digital platforms.